I don't know. I mean, I think we just need to start where you grew up.
I'm on YouTube. I see you on YouTube all the time. So you always have your picture on YouTube.
I think, we just have to start back at the beginning.
Yeah, let's do it.
Back in the beginning. Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, Greenpoint section, and my dad was the underboss of the Colombo family back in the 60s. So I grew up in that environment. And he was very highly publicized. You know, for some reason, you know, I found out later on, with all the guys around, they seemed to just pick my dad as kind of the main guy, the media guy, the guy the government was after all the time. Huh. So I grew up in an environment where we had law enforcement around us all the time. I grew up actually hating the police. I hated them because my dad was my hero, and they were kind of like the enemy, you know, always looking to indict him, arrest him, always around the house. And, you know, their tactics back then were very different than they are today. Today, everything is very covert. You know, you got a lot of informants, a lot of, you know, high-tech surveillance equipment.
Overtly break the law.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, yeah.
Back then, they had 7 or 8 different agencies following my dad, and they'd have a car parked around my house 24/7. So wherever we went, I was one of 7 kids. We had a parade of law enforcement vehicles following us. And I got into many scuffles with them, you know, had many incidents, and so I grew up hating them. And my dad, he was indicted 3 times in the state for murder, for grand larceny, and some other thing. He beat all of those cases. But then in '66, they indicted him in federal court for masterminding a nationwide string of bank robberies. Convicted and sentenced to 50 years. It was the longest sentence for a bank robbery conspiracy case ever given up to that point. Loses all his appeals in 1970, and they shipped him off to Leavenworth Penitentiary to do his time. So I was, you know, my dad wanted me out of this life. He didn't want me to get involved. I was actually a pre-med student at Hofstra University in Long Island. But when he went in, I was, you know, I was devastated. I mean, 50 years. He was 50 when he went in. Figure, you know, it's a death sentence.
Yeah.
So, you know, Joe Colombo was very close to me at that time. He kind of took me under his wing. I started meeting a lot of my dad's friends. And I just lost interest in school. And I went to see my dad. You know, Mike, I'll never forget. I said, Dad, bank robbery? I mean, you know, what is this all about? And he looked at me and he said, son, I was framed. I'm innocent. I'm not a bank robber. And I believed him. And until this day, I'm telling you, my dad did 40 years on that sentence. And he did it for a crime he didn't convict. My dad was no bank robber. And so I said, I got to help you out.
They got to get you for something.
They had to.
Get you for something. When they're on you, they're on you.
Yeah, he beat him so many times, I had to do something, you know? So, you know, at that point, we were in the penitentiary in Leavenworth, and he said, look, if you're going to be on the street, I want you on the street the right way. And it was at that point that he proposed me for membership in the family. And that's how things started, kind of started for me.
Wow.
Now listen, how old were you when you became a made man?
I was, when I became a recruit, I was 22.
Yeah.
And I took the oath when I was 24, 2 years later.
All right, so listen, how do you, your mindset, like my mindset.
Yeah.
So I'm a made guy in the neighborhood. Nobody could fuck with me, put their hands on me. But I could fuck with you. How do you do that? Look, my mentality. You know, I'm a young 20-something-year-old guy. Hey, I don't like this fucking guy, but I love his girlfriend. Kill that motherfucker. That's my main time. You know what I mean? If I want this, kill them. You know what I mean? If I want that fucking house, he has a business, fuck him. If I was a mob, that's not, so does that thought goes through your mind?
You know, Mike, now, honestly, I got involved in a life really to help my father. I mean, that was my whole motivation.
Oh, see, I would be so self-absorbed and stuff from the mob. If I was in the mob, I'd be so self-absorbed.
Yeah, but you know what? It happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a rush because, you know, you got a ringside table wherever you go. People give you a lot of respect. And, you know, you try to carry yourself the right way. You don't want to abuse that.
How do you do? You never had that before. And all of a sudden, boom. It's never like this. I give you a little bit at a time. It's just all at once. Boom. You're made.
Yeah, but understand, I grew up with it. You know, I mean, look, I spent my childhood in the Copacabana meeting everybody from Sinatra on down. So, you know, my dad was that kind of a guy. I mean, when he walked into a place, I mean, he was a different guy.
Respected.
People really looked up to him. They really respected him. He carried himself well, and he was a tough guy. I mean, there's no question about it, you know. So, I mean, I grew up around it, and I really admired and respected my dad. But when I got into the life, you know, I wanted to, number one, I wanted to get him out of prison, so I worked hard on that. And number two, honestly, I wanted to be the best possible mob guy I could be. So
What's that
I worked.
consist?
Yeah, what did that mean?
You know, in that life, you kind of make your own way. They had guys. I'll give you an example. I took the oath in 1975, right on Halloween night. Actually, there was 6 of us that night that took the oath, and we had 115 made guys that actually took the oath. Out of the 115, 20 of us were earners. The other guys were just.
That means you bring in money.
Yeah, we were earning. We were earning really
gotcha.
for everybody else. The other guys who got him a union job, who was doing a little bookmaking, trying to scratch out a living. So I was determined to make money, and I had a head for business, and I used the life. I knew how to use the life to benefit me that way.